Hi boys and girls, it's Mrs. Lane here, and today we're discussing histograms. Now, most of you will be on page 296 and 297. I've got a few of you on page 286 and 287, depending on what version of the book you're in. But let's start with this question at the top. Caroline looked at the text messaging data and drew the histogram to the right. She noticed that this histogram does not show how most of the data points are clustered around 10 and 20. Text messages per day. So when you're looking at her histogram, you can see that there's 9 students who are, or teenagers who are texting under 50 a day, but it doesn't show that there's a lot of kids just texting 10 and 20. So she wanted to come up with a better program or a better histogram that would prove what she wanted to, or show that there are a lot of students who are only texting 10 or 20 texts a day. So it asks us to draw a histogram to show the data grouped in a different way. So what they've done is she's, instead of splitting everything from 50 and lower, she's divided it into 5 different bins or 5 different sections. These sections right here, these bars, those are called bins. And so what she is doing, what Caroline is doing, is she is making a bin for the 0 to 20 group. So if you texted between 0 and 20 times a day, you are in this bin, this group, and there were 8 teens. If you texted 21 to 40 times a day, you are in this bin, and in that bin there was only 1 student. If you texted between 41 to 60 times a day, you would be in that bin when there would be 3 students. So you can kind of see how it works. She's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different groups there, or 5 different bins, and you can see that the largest portion of students is going to be in this first bin from 0 to 20, and there's 8 students there. So if we go down and look at the new histogram that she's drawn, you can see that. You can see exactly what Caroline wanted to show. She's got 8 students that are sending 0 to 20 text messages. She's got 1 student who's sending between 21 and 40. She's got 3 students sending between 41 and 60. How many students are sending between 61 and 80 text messages a day? 0. There's nothing. There's not even a bin drawn there. And then lastly, how many students are texting between 81 and 100 times? Right. You've got 3 students in this bin. So by separating her histogram out and making a larger number of bins, she can show, or she can indicate that there were a lot of data points clustering around 10 and 20 in it, and her histogram now looks like this. So let's go to the next page, page 297 or page 287, and answer the questions there. Okay, boys and girls, we are back on page 297 or page 287, and we're looking at question number 2. And it says, look at the histogram in the second modelet. So they're asking us to look at the histogram, this second one right here. Now, what does the question want us to know? It says, what do the numbers on the vertical axis mean? So you've got this vertical axis right here, and you've got numbers going from 0 to 10. What do those numbers mean? Well, those numbers indicate the number of teens. Okay? So let's write that sentence down. The numbers indicate the number of teens. Another way you could put it is you could also write that the numbers show how many data points are in each interval, right? Because the numbers are going to show how many data points are in each interval. So from this interval, 0 to 20, there were 8 teens or 8 data points. From this interval, 21 to 40, there was 1 teen or 1 data point. So you can write it either way. Now let's go on to the second part of that question. What do the numbers on the horizontal axis mean? So when we look at these numbers right here, 0 to 100, and we've got them in 5 different groups, 5 different intervals, 5 different bins. What do those mean? Well, those are the number of text messages sent per day. So let's write that down. They show the number of text messages sent per day. All right, we're moving on to number 3. 3 asks us, what does the height of each bar represent? So this one's really high, this one's low. These two are in the middle. What does that height represent? I hope I heard you right. I hope you said the height represents the number of data points in that interval. In that interval. All right, moving on to number 4. What does it mean that there is no bar at interval 61 through 80? So we've got nothing here. What does it mean? It means that there were no data points at that group. There were no data points in that group. Another way you could say that is that there were no students who sent 61 to 80 text messages a day, but there were no data points in that group. All right, moving on. Number 5 says compare. Compare the 2 histograms on the previous page. Which histogram better represents the spread of the data? Explain. So the 2 histograms we have are this one at the top and also this one down at the bottom. Which one do you think better indicates the spread? What do you guys think? I hope you chose the one at the bottom. The second histogram with 5 intervals is better because this histogram shows gives us more information of where those data points actually are. The second histogram with 5 intervals or 5 bins, however you want to say it, is better. It gives us a better view about where the data points are located. And if you look at it, we can actually even see that about half of the data points, 8 of them, and there's a total of, let's see, we've got 3 and 3 and 1. So the 3, 3, and 1 is 7, and we've got 8. So more than half of the data points are in the first spin, between 0 and 20. So it shows us more than half of the data points are between 0 and 20 text messages. All right, let's move on. Question number 8. How does changing the interval or bin size change the way the histogram looks? So let's look at it this way. When we change the number of intervals, when we change the number of bins, when we go from 2 to 5, how does that change the way the histogram looks? When you increase the number of bins, you divide the data into more groups, and there are more intervals so you can see more detail. Let's write that down. When you increase the number of bins, you divide the data into more groups. When you increase the number of bins, you divide the data into more groups. And when you do that, you get to see more details. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for sticking it with me. So you've finished page 296 and 297, or 286 and 287, and it's time for you to move on to your PPS pages. So good luck. Call me if you have any trouble, or text or email, and we'll get it figured out. Bye, guys.